Hi there. I wanted to make a short video just to share a few modifications I made to the manual Harbor Freight tire changer with the Lucid Autowerks Duckbill accessory, which this is sold by a fellow on eBay, and I can't say enough about how useful this is and how much easier it makes to change tires using the manual tire changer. As well as the craftsmanship on this is just wonderful. So if you're interested, you can find it at Lucid Autowerks on eBay. So some of the additional modifications I made, to begin with, the Harbor Freight tire changer comes with a orientation pin that comes up, and you have to line that with the lug hole in the rim to keep the rim from rotating. But it's really a pain to put the wheel on top and try to get that pin lined up. So I cut out that pin and then replaced that with some angle iron and a slot in the bottom place and a pin that I can just insert from the top. So I can get the tire in place, or the rim in place, and then just insert the pin from the top. So here I'll show you using this setup to change some wheels on some steel rims. These are off of a Honda Odyssey, and they're size P225 70R16. Now, the Lucid Duckbill tool comes with a centering cone, but you'll notice that in this case, with the steel rim, the cone doesn't insert through enough to be able to center the rim. So what you need to do is come up with some kind of a spacer when you've got these steel rims. What I found that works pretty well is to use one of these universal hub spacers, and we can just put that on and it'll just hold the rim up a little bit. And put the wheel in place. Now we can put the centering cone in place and get the rim centered. And we can insert our pin to lock the whole wheel in place. And I generally find it does work well to use the spacer that comes with the Lucid Autowerks tool, and then you can fasten down the duckbill tool in place. Now, this little arm on the top is a modification to the Harbor Freight changer. I just took a piece of aluminum bar and put a couple tapped threaded holes in it with some screws and bought some of these revolving handles, and it makes it nice and quick instead of having to get the bar out and tighten that down, and it seems to hold it quite well. So now for tire lube. I've actually tried quite a few different tire lubes, and they kind of have their advantages and disadvantages. This is the Blackjack, and I think also known as Murphy's oil soap, and this is a very greasy consistency, almost like a gel. It works really well, but is really messy, and you really have to apply it using your hands. It doesn't really go on well with a brush or anything, but it's also very good for sealing the bead if you've got a tire that's got a big gap and it's hard to see. But it is really messy. It does work well. I've also tried the tire mounting paste. This is basically the same as the EuroPaste. So it's a white, soapy kind of paste, almost the consistency of a Crisco or something. And that goes on really well with the brush. And it works fairly well. However, I don't really find that it works any better than just using RuGlyde. This comes from NAPA, and this is very liquidy, but I think works just as well. And it's just really easy to apply, and you can just put it on with a regular applicator and a little container. Now, some folks don't tend to lube up for removal, but since I'm actually just putting some TPMS sensors in these, and I'm going to be reusing the tires. So I want to make sure they're kept in good shape, so I'm just going to provide a little bit of lube here. Okay, and now we can just position the duckbill right in place under the lip of the rim. And then I use a regular Harbor Freight tire iron. And then just get under the lip. And there's a great video too from the Lucid Autowerks gentleman who demonstrates this tool as well. And then I just push down the opposite side so that we're sure it's in the drop center. And then we can rotate around. Now, skipping a step because I just want to show you what can happen. Now, if you'll notice, as it goes around, the edge isn't wanting to ride up over the lip. And I found this happens on certain wheels and not on others. And so the technique I've come up with to get around this is to make this little polyethylene tool where I shave down the end to have a little bit of a taper. And then you just insert that right alongside the duckbill and even pull out the tire iron. And then as I hold that and rotate, it makes the tire want to pop right off the top of the rim. And then you can repeat the same thing on the inner bead. Just lift it up, put it in place, and find the same theme here. A lot of times as you rotate the duckbill around, the tire lifts up, but then it wants to just slip down in place. It doesn't ride up over the rim. So we can just take the little tool, insert it in there. Once that's in, you can even take out the tire iron and just rotate around, and the bottom bead comes off quite easily. And then you can just lift the whole tire right off. Alright, so now I've got the new TPMS sensor. It's actually one of the Autel MX sensors, programmed and installed, torque to spec 4 Newton meters. I'm going to remount the tire. So first I'll use the RuGlyde again. Move up the both of the beads really well. And I'll get it started where I need it, right past the TPMS sensor, to make sure we don't damage that. And then we can get it started. So that one side of the tire is above the back hump on the duckbill and below the hump on the front of the duckbill. Now I should say this is where the first bead was what was really hard with the Nomar tool, which I used successfully on a lot of aluminum rims. But the hard thing is this works great to mount the second bead, but the first bead is really hard. I could never fit it in there inside of the tire to get it in place. So another really nice feature of the Lucid Autowerks duckbill tool. So again, getting started. so it sits at the right spot on the duckbill, and then just pulling it around so it pops into place. Here you'll be able to see the same thing, but see it better and see the arrangement. So basically, the tire is going to sit something like that, where the tire rides over the top of the back of the duckbill and under the front. And the nice thing about this is that the tire never touches the rim. I had some problems on the metal rims only, that when I used the Nomar bar, as I pulled it around, then it's pulling the inside of the tire over the rim. And some of these rims, the steel ones, can have a really sharp edge, and it's getting some damage on the inside of the tire where it's really soft, especially on a ribbed tire. So that's prevented completely in this case with the duckbill tool. Just pull it around. Work our way around, and then the tire is all in place. Really makes it effortless. And I have to really, again, give a plug for this guy, Lucid Autowerks. His tool is what makes this all work, and it's really a fantastic tool. I can't say enough about it. It really makes it a joy to change, and it takes almost no effort at all. So I watched the video up to this point, and I realized that the lighting was horrible, and I'm a really bad videographer. So I figured I'd try to improve the lighting a little bit and show you another tire removal and remount. And hopefully I'm blocking less of the view and you get a little bit more out of it. Again, this is these are the wheels from the Honda Odyssey, steel rims. I'll put the centering cone in and put the lock-in pin kind of in place. Install the duckbill tool. Again, really great piece of craftsmanship from Lucid. You can find them on eBay. I'll grab some RuGlyde. And in case you're wondering what the X's are, I'm flipping these tires on the rim so we can rotate them to the other side of the vehicle to get a little bit better wear. So I want to remember which side was up so I don't get absent-minded and set it down and then forget which side is going up. So I shouldn't see any X's in the remount. And do like to loop up the duckbill a little bit. Make it slide a little bit better too. Move up the edge of the rim some. Alright. Now we just adjust the duckbill. Get it in place. I think his early prototypes of this tool, you had to fasten these down with a wrench, but it's really nice to be able to hand tighten them, and everything seems to stay in place just fine. So hopefully you can see with this camera angle a little bit better. But first we'll put the tire iron in and just grab onto that bead, and it helps sometimes to push down on this side of the tire a little bit to make sure everything's in the drop center on the far side. And it's also kind of handy with that spacer there, you can kind of lock the tire iron underneath it. And then I'll take out my polyethylene tool. Again, this was just something I made that I cut it out of a sheet of half-inch thick polyethylene just on a table saw, and then just kind of sanded down the end to get a little bit of a taper in it. So we can insert that in from that angle. And then this will keep the tire from falling back down as it goes around and get it to ride up over the rim, hopefully. So we'll rotate it around. Goes pretty smoothly. And we'll just get it here again and do the same thing. Maybe I'll, yeah, I guess you won't be able to see this side really well no matter where I go. I'll lift it up, and this one usually comes off even easier. I'll stick the tool in that little notch that's there. And off it comes. So now I'm gonna take out the old valve stem. These tires don't have any, these are winter tires, so they don't have any TPMS sensors in it. So I'm just taking out the old ones with no TPMS and putting TPMS sensors. So once I get the TPMS sensor programmed and installed, I'll show you the remount. Alright, the TPMS sensor is all installed. So now time to just remount the tire and the other orientation. I like to put some RuGlyde on the rim. If you've got a tire that's hard to seat the bead on, as sometimes these can be, it seems to help a lot to get a little bit of lubricant there to get a better seal. And this RuGlyde does come with rust. It has rust inhibitors in it, so that's a nice advantage over using something like water and soap, where it could cause rust inside the rim afterwards. Alright, and then of course lube up the tire as well. Usually do that pretty well, doing both beads, the inside and the outside as well. Alright, I need to make sure I get this going the right way. So the X's were on the top, so they should be on the bottom now. Spin this around, hopefully try to get the best angle for you to see it. X is on the bottom. Put it in place. Now this is another a good reason to use that spacer that I talked about to lift up the whole Lucid Duckbill tool a little bit. You can see there's not a lot of clearance here with the wheel, so it helps to have that whole thing lifted up to give a little bit more clearance here, so that you can kind of get it in place on the duckbill. Sometimes this step takes a little bit of wrangling with it, and then once you get it kind of started spinning around, kind of locks it in place. Get your bar in there. Hopefully I'm not blocking you too much. Spin it around. And the same thing on this side. You do a lot of times have to just hold the other side of the tire a little bit to kind of get it going, keep it from spinning around, get it seating in there, and then you can kind of let go once it gets started and pop it in place. So again, I just wanted to make this video to show you, it's been a big learning curve for me, so if you can find some of this useful, if there's useful little tips in it, then that's super. And again, check out the Lucid Autowerks tool, no affiliation or anything, but he really does make a really superb tool for doing this. It really turns a chore into kind of a really easy task that's almost fun to do.